The roof of Gainbridge Fieldhouse seemed to inhale just before the opening buzzer on June 14, 2025. 5 games earlier, Caitlin Clark had hobbled off the court with a nagging quad. Critics whispered that the white-hot rookie glow had dimmed, and the WNBA's fledgling ratings spike would sink with it. Yet here she was, shrugging off the noise, striding back into the lineup against the undefeated New York Liberty. The very team daring to turn her comeback night into a coronation of their own. She didn't offer theatrics during warm-ups, only a quiet smirk and a single line to a courtside reporter. Full go means full go. The arena hadn't heard her, but millions at home would soon feel the weight of those words. If you're the kind of fan who rewinds historic moments and argues them with friends until sunrise, tap that like button right now and drop your hottest GOAT prediction in the comments. Because what Clark unleashed next wasn't just a highlight reel, it was a declaration of war on complacency, on minutes restrictions, and on anyone clinging to yesterday's pecking order. Clark's first possession was almost casual. One crossover, a hesitation at the left wing, and a pull-up 3 that barely grazed nylon. It looked effortless, but it detonated the crowd like a sonic boom. Within 90 seconds, she'd snatched her first rebound, zipped an offhand bullet to Aliyah Boston for a layup, and sketched a grin on Breanna Stewart's usually stoic face that read, "Oh, so that's what today is." 9 points later, the Liberty's 9-0 season start floated like a soap bubble against a razor blade. Every time Clark's sneaker squeaked, the decibel meter shook. Midway through the opening quarter, she delivered the first of 3 bombs from 30-plus feet, each one farther than the last. Each one arriving faster than the crowd could process. By the third, Sabrina Ionescu didn't even turn to chase the rebound. She just stared, mouth open, as the game clock ticked on and the arena spun. From the broadcast booth came a stunned statistic. Clark had outscored New York 14-11 by herself in the span of 2.5 minutes. That flurry alone pushed the national telecast into near-record ratings. Another reminder to league executives that the so-called Clark effect wasn't marketing fluff. Yet, as the quarter closed, Indiana trailed by 6, because Stephanie White stuck to a medical minutes cap that yanked her star to the bench. The smattering of boos wasn't directed at Clark. It was frustration aimed at limitations that suddenly seemed criminal. And that tension, medicine versus momentum, set the stage for a bigger clash than anything on the scoreboard. But the first quarter was just the opening argument. The heart of Clark's rebellion lay ahead, waiting behind the next substitution horn. The Fever's training staff had negotiated a modest 24-minute cap, believing a cautious return would buy them a healthier July. Clark, however, saw it as a muzzle. Cameras caught her pleading with Coach White during the timeout. "If the leg's fine, let it run!" White replied with a curt nod toward the medical crew. The rookie's smile vanished, replaced by a glare sharper than any triple team she'd faced that night. Social media pounced on the exchange within seconds. "Free Caitlin" trended before halftime. When Clark re-entered late in the second quarter, Indiana was staring at a 9-point hole and a restless crowd. She buried a step-back 3 over Stewart, whipped a no-look dart through 2 defenders to Kelsey Mitchell, then charged right back into another triple team to draw contact, earning free throws and a roaring standing ovation. Less visible, but equally seismic, was how her teammates rallied behind her defiance. For months, the narrative called Clark the marketing magnet. But in that timeout huddle, she wasn't a logo. She was pure force, telling Boston, Mitchell, and rookie guard Grace Berger exactly where to cut, when to screen, and how to punish the Liberty for overhelping. The bench rose with every order she barked. The scoreboard did too. By halftime, the deficit had become a 2-point lead, the minutes cap already in shards. Coach White could either ride the momentum or watch it wither. She chose the first option and never looked back. Yet the controversy brewed off court. Pundits debated whether a player should override medical caution. Doctors cautioned that adrenaline masks danger. Clark's response in postgame was icy. "You play to win the game, and I came here to play." The lines in the sand got a shade darker, and with medical limits blown wide open, defenders shifted from strategic containment to something less subtle. 2 nights after her return, the Fever traveled to Connecticut for a Commissioner's Cup qualifier that devolved into a wrestling match faster than you could say flagrant. Clark was body-checked off a curl, slapped on a fadeaway, and, most infamously, poked in the eye chasing a loose ball. Teammates rushed to her defense. Sun forward DeWanna Bonner shoved back. Whistles shrilled, tempers flared, and the league office collected footage for morning reviews. 6 technicals littered the box score. Clark walked the tunnel holding a towel to her cheek, still jawing about missed calls. Those bruises reignited a league-wide conversation. Was Clark being targeted or merely introduced to the physical reality of pro basketball? ESPN analyst Monica McNutt argued the latter. Former Iowa coach Lisa Bluter publicly demanded tighter freedom of movement rules. Meanwhile, ticket sales soared for road games featuring Indiana. Fans wanted to witness the contact, the drama, the possibility that the rookie might flip another arena on its head. Conflict sells. And this conflict was printing money. Clark never accused opponents of dirty play outright. Instead, she raised the stakes with performance. She poured in 28, 31, and 27 in the next 3 outings, punctuating each with a long-distance dagger that forced teams to extend defenses as far as the logo. That, in turn, spread the floor for her teammates, improving Indiana's offensive rating by 12 points over February levels. Coaches adjusted by assigning bigger forwards to bump her early, setting a new physical tone from the opening tip. But every hack, every bump, was a drumbeat that kept fans glued. And the story needed fuel. Enter a familiar rival ready to pour gasoline on it. Angel Reese's Chicago Sky met the Fever on June 21st. The pregame handshake was routine, yet viewers scoured every frame for a cold glance or micro-expression to meme. Months earlier, Reese had waved her hand across her face in the NCAA title game. The gesture still echoed in highlight montages and fan wars. Now, on professional soil, the rivalry matured into a marketing bonanza. The game itself was chippy from the opening tip. Reese bodied Clark on a hedge, drawing early whistles. Clark retaliated with a corner triple, then smirked on the way back. Twitter, or X as it rebranded, erupted. Hashtag #IceInIndy versus hashtag ChyTownCheese. Gallup-style polls on The Athletic showed Clark favored by 64% of respondents, with Reese capturing 29% and 9 left undecided. Proof that fans were picking sides with playoff-style passion in June. Post-game, Reese delivered a quote that ricocheted through sports talk radio for a week. "She sells tickets, I sell defense." Clark refused to bite, praising Reese's rebounding and pivoting to the Fever's postseason goals. Behind the microphones, each woman understood their shared value. Controversy drives viewership, and viewership feeds endorsement pipelines. But dollar signs would soon leap from hypothetical to headline when the biggest sportswear brand on earth opened its vault. On June 30th, Nike officially announced an 8-year, $28 million deal, granting Caitlin Clark her own signature line, a sum unprecedented in the women's game. The reveal, staged on a floating LED court anchored in the East River, dwarfed even the boldest marketing rollouts of recent years. Clark's smile was bigger than Times Square billboards, yet the real shock came from what she turned down. Ice Cube's Big 3 League had offered $10 million for Clark to moonlight as a summer attraction. She declined, citing loyalty to the Fever and a singular focus on WNBA goals. The rapper-turned-commissioner lashed out on Instagram Live, claiming the W should stop handcuffing its stars. Rachel DeMita, a Big 3 sideline reporter, retweeted Clark's highlights with the caption, "Worth every penny." Hours later, the league dismissed her for conflict of interest. Meanwhile, Wilson Sporting Goods scrambled to renew its ball endorsement with Clark before Nike swallowed that lane as well. Gatorade unveiled an ad showing Clark splashing logo 3s on an empty high school court. Then cutting to archival shots of young girls practicing in driveways, State Farm revived its comedic Agent Next Door series by pairing her with Chris Paul. Analysts estimated her off-court earnings at over $6 million annually, before adding Nike's back-end royalty structure. Those deals thrilled accountants, but they cranked up pressure too. Endorsement powerhouses and network execs wanted Clark deep into the postseason, not eliminated by August. The Fever, rebuilt around her alongside all-star Aliyah Boston, suddenly carried expectations no rookie tandem had faced since Bird and Cash in archetypal 2002. And pressure, like gravity, only increases the higher you climb. Still ahead loomed a different kind of scrutiny: the league rulebook itself. By mid-July, the Fever's home attendance had surged 88% over last season, while secondary market ticket prices for Indiana road games jumped a staggering 140%. Broadcast partners ESPN and ABC renegotiated flex scheduling to feature Clark in prime slots, a maneuver that effectively reshaped the league's narrative structure around a single rookie. Inevitably, veteran voices grumbled about Clark rules, alleging refs swallowed whistles on her push-offs, yet whistled phantom fouls on her defenders. Hall of Famer Cheryl Swoops fanned those flames on a podcast, claiming, "If you breathe near her, it's a shooting foul." Moments later, highlight reels on social showed Clark face-planting after uncalled contact, balancing the debate. The truth lived somewhere between perception and pixel frames. Behind boardroom doors, the W's Media Rights Committee strategized how to leverage Clark's draw into a richer TV deal expiring in 2026. Some owners floated expansion into Oakland and Toronto, citing data that games featuring Clark pulled twice the local streaming numbers of teams she hadn't yet faced. Others cautioned against overexposure. In that tension, the rookie found herself both central figure and lightning rod, cheered for injecting revenue and blamed for tilting whistles, though no memo ever proved it. Of course, public uproar means little without hardware, and the chase for hardware intensified as Indiana's final Commissioner's Cup qualifier appeared on the horizon. With one group stage game remaining, Indiana needed a win to clinch a cup final spot. Their opponent? The Las Vegas Aces, reigning WNBA champions powered by A'ja Wilson and Chelsea Gray. Home court advantage belonged to Vegas, bright lights and all. Clark entered sporting a sleeve over her previously bruised forearm, a visible reminder of the Suns' scuffle. She greeted Wilson at half court with a fist bump, then unleashed another masterclass. 11 assists, most sprung from drives that dragged Gray and Jackie Young into no man's land. The Fever led by 5 when coach Becky Hammon rolled out a triangle and 2 defense rarely seen outside a high school gym, designed exclusively to smother Clark's off-ball cuts. Clark responded by turning decoy, luring defenders into traps, and freeing Mitchell for 4 straight triples. Inside Staples-esque T-Mobile Arena, "Let's Go Fever" chants penetrated the partisan crowd. That night, Indiana stamped its ticket to the Cup final, and Clark added a 10-rebound cherry for her second pro triple-double. Beyond the Cup, an Olympic storyline brewed. The Paris Games, delayed to 2025 by prior pandemic ripples, beckoned with global prestige. USA Basketball's roster announcement leaked before the press conference. Clark and veteran Chelsea Gray would share lead guard duties while Stewart accepted a hybrid forward spot. Fans and pundits salivated at the prospect of Clark firing logo threes under the Eiffel Tower. Meanwhile, European clubs dangled 7-figure winter contracts, temptation for many pros seeking off-season paychecks. Clark's camp teased interest, but hammered home that her WNBA mission took precedence. And so every narrative strand converged. Injury redemption, minutes mutiny, physical warfare, rivalry drama, endorsement riches, rating spikes, and Olympic dreams. On one central question: if a rookie could reshape an entire league in 8 months, what would an entire career look like? June 14th, 2025 may stand as the night we stopped talking about potential and started chronicling legacy. In 40 spellbinding minutes, Caitlin Clark rewrote the script of a perfect Liberty season, shattered medical caution, and pulled the NBA's center of gravity squarely into her orbit. Each elbow to the ribs, each sideline spat, and every multi-million-dollar contract that followed became another brushstroke in a portrait both dazzling and divisive. You can celebrate her logo threes or criticize her foul baiting. You can argue about minutes limits, marketing machines, or the fine print of rule changes. But what you can't do anymore is pretend this story is ordinary. And that brings us to you. If you want ringside seats for the next chapter, whether it unfolds in the Commissioner's Cup final, under Parisian lights, or in the next viral face-off with Angel Reese, hit subscribe right now, tap the notification bell, and buckle up, because the only thing more electrifying than Caitlin Clark's present is the storm of possibility that follows wherever she laces up next.